Good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everybody around the world. Thank you for joining this webinar sponsored by Trinity. The topic of this webinar is Authoring in a Digital World. My name is Cutler Cleveland. I am a professor at Boston University in the Department of Earth and Environment. And I'm also the Chief Education Officer at Trinity, where I oversee educational strategy and execution for the company. I'm also the founding editor-in-chief of the Encyclopedia of Earth, which some of you might be familiar with, the web's largest open source, free, and peer-reviewed reference on everything related to the environment. At Boston University, I teach at both the graduate and undergraduate levels in the areas of energy and environmental science. And I have a long history in publishing commercial content of a variety of types, working with publishers from Wiley to McGraw-Hill to Elsevier, and publishing content ranging from introductory textbooks to higher-end trade and reference books. So the purpose of this webinar is several-fold. First, to demonstrate the Trunity Universe e-learning platform and how it can be used to create digital content for use in the classroom and other purposes. I'd also like to describe the nature of the business and creative relationship between authors and Trinity, how it actually works in the digital world to work with a publisher and an author. Many of you probably have experience with traditional publishers. There are some similarities and also some important differences. I'd also like to describe the next steps to take if you are interested in producing content on the Trinity e-learning platform, and most importantly, I'm here to answer your questions. And on that last point, the way the questions will work is the following. In your control panel, your GoToWebinar control panel, there's a section labeled questions, and you can type your questions into that chat window. And at the end of the webinar, we'll go through the questions and answer them. And I'll also stand ready, of course, after the webinar to be available to talk to people. So what I'd like to do first is describe what Trinity is and what digital publishing means to us. Trinity produces a cloud-based e-learning platform and an electronic digital textbook that delivers a unique and transformative educational experience for students and for authors, which ultimately combines to improve learning outcomes. How do we do that? We have a unique platform that combines three essential elements. One is the ability to produce and organize modular, rich media content. The ability to take that content and generate virtual books and courseware for use in the classroom, and also the ability to leverage dynamic social learning to enhance the content produced on the platform. How do we do that? We do that through something that we call the Trunity Universe e-learning platform. And the three circles represent the three essential features or functionalities that the platform provides in an all-in-one experience. The first is what we call Trinity Author, which is the ability for you as an author or an instructor or a teacher to create real-time, rich media content. The second feature is what we call the Trinity Reader, and that's the ability to consume that content, the experience of the user to read, listen, hear, and see that content anywhere, anytime in a cloud-based learning environment. And the third feature is what we call the Trinity Classroom, which is the ability to take that content that's created, the ability to consume that content and wrap it all in a classroom environment that can be used by students and faculty. So that's the takeaway point here is that all this is done in a single platform. You do not have to go multiple places to create content and then to read it. You don't need a separate learning management system for your content and so on. It's all in one easy to use platform. So the content, the books that are created on our platform, we call uBooks. And uBooks are, we believe, the future of the educational landscape for a number of reasons. First of all, you can create easily on the platform all types of digital content. It could be a textbook or a uBook, but it could also be any type of content. Labs, assignments, exams, modules, whatever content that you might have. We also enable you as the author to control your content and brand. Not the least of which is that you retain the copyright to all of your intellectual property and are involved in the marketing and branding of your content. Our financial arrangements are significantly better than traditional publishers who typically argue 10 to 15% royalties. Our authors are typically up in the range of 40 to 50% royalty rates. The use of the platform is free to authors or teachers. The platform is 100% in the cloud. It is a virtual, we do not produce any physical products. It's an easy to use platform and is accessible on any device and on any platform. And this summer we'll also be rolling out mobile applications for iOS and Android systems, which will also enable students or any reader to download content from the book online, including rich media, and view it offline. And last but not least, we also help and enable people to sell their content in our Trinity bookstore and on the web through a global exchange community. So what are some of the advantages of this approach that I'm going to demonstrate to you? For students, access anywhere, anytime, on any device. The learning sequence from a pedagogical perspective is very simple and straightforward. Students have personalization tools, highlighting, bookmarks, and so on. Books remain a permanent online reference. Students who purchase a book own it for life, including any updates that are made to the book over its life. And in most cases, we offer a significant cost savings. Books typically produced on this platform are much cheaper than traditional publishers offer, either print or ebooks. For instructors, a lot of flexibility, the ability to customize content, add it, remove it, reorder it, to produce a content that suits their particular classrooms. They can view and manage class activity online, and we provide a very powerful way to keep content up to date. So what we're responding to in producing this platform are the following market forces. So this provides a bit of a backdrop or motivation for what we are trying to provide authors. One of the key driving forces is modular content, the ability to take content, whether it's a chapter or part of a chapter or a module or an image or a video, whatever that content might be, and be able to chop it up into individual pieces or modulars so that it can be repurposed. And increasingly, that content has to be able to support rich media. The second driving force is customization. Instructors, both in higher ed and also in K-12, want to be able to modify content, customize it to meet the particular needs of their audience. The third driving force is the ability to update content in real time. One of the challenges, one of the limitations of traditional publishers is that the revision cycle is based entirely on their particular business model for your book, which may or may not jive with what's relevant for your particular book and the subject area that you're writing for. This is particularly important for me and my co-authors, for example, because in the area of environmental science and energy, information science policy is changing all the time. And so you need to be able to, ideally, is to update content on the fly, so to speak, to keep up with the dynamic nature of the subject. The fourth driving force is collaboration, both teacher to student, student to student, and to be able to leverage social networking to enhance the content that you produce. So let's apply this now to becoming an author. So our author development program has 4 important aspects to it. So going clockwise around the circle, we begin with uBook creation. And here we work with authors to understand their aspirations, review their content, and understand the potential customer base. And once we reach an agreement with an author, we begin the process of what we call producing a Trinitized uBook content. We do this by assigning each author an editorial project manager who works closely with the author to bring his or her content through to the marketing stage. Through the book development process, we are also doing a lot of helping with editorial oversight to make sure that the book is up to current web standards of publishing and overall meet textbook level quality of presentation. And last, and again not least, is sales and marketing. We have a very robust marketing and sales campaign, which is a combination of web marketing and push marketing campaigns. So here's a case study, which happens to be a book that I've co-authored with Robert Kaufman, a colleague of mine at Boston University. We've written an introductory textbook on environmental science. It's 24 chapters, kind of a standard intro textbook. Print version, it was originally about 650 pages, got a glossary and so on. It was originally published by McGraw-Hill. We bought the rights back from McGraw-Hill and came on board with Trinity and have produced a uBook out of that original print book. The price of the book is $50. The original print version was about $150. We tested it on my captive guinea pigs at Boston University back in fall 2012. In each semester, we've seen a ramping up, as you can see there, of uptake of the book, and the book is doing far better than it did with McGraw-Hill. So there's one example of how the process works. Whoops, go back to this. So with that as a bit of backdrop, I now want to jump on the web, since we are a web-based product, and show you how this process works. And I'm going to begin by showing you a finished product, and then I'm going to show you how we get there. So here is our textbook on environmental science that I just described, and you can see here the chapters spilling down the page, and clicking on open at any particular chapter shows me the content of that chapter, different sections of the chapter. All of this text is dynamic. Clicking on it takes you to that particular page. Notice that I also have a textbook glossary. I'll show you how to generate that. I have a search box, so I can search within the textbook for any particular text string. I also have here just below the search box an editing wheel, which is available only to authors, which allows me to go in and edit the content in the ways that I will demonstrate in a moment. Over here all the way on the left, we have a table of contents. This follows you on every page in the book, so you can always know where you are in the book and always navigate back to the table of contents. If I go all the way up here to the very top, the dark blue bar, there are some higher level navigation functionalities. I have a bookshelf which shows all the books on the Trinity platform that I have access to. Students have bookmarks which they can use for books. We have an internal communication system, a profile for you and any of your co-authors. We have a functionality over here on the left called live cross-publishing, which I will demonstrate, a patented technology that we've developed which enables authors and instructors to dynamically update content and publish it across sites. And then I have here the ability to add content, and here we have the ability to add content of a variety of types into the book that you're creating. So this is what a more or less full-blown book would look like. And as you can see, it looks fairly similar in structure to what a traditional textbook would be, because that's what it was originally. This was a book from McGraw-Hill. We imported it, converted it to HTML5, and updated it significantly. We updated it with higher resolution images, video. Here we go into chapter 1. We start with a little story about the collapse of Easter Island. You can see the use of high resolution images. We've embedded video. It's a little video from National Geographic on the collapse of Easter Island. You can see there are glossary terms. If you click on this term MOE, glossary pops up. We also have self-assessment questions, which you can add to the bottom of pages, where students can check their learning as they go. They can type in an answer and then get feedback on that particular question. And then these arrows simply allow you to navigate from page to page in the content. So this is one type of content that can be produced. I'm going to go to another product of mine, which I've just produced, which is a primer on energy and climate. This is a little bit different. It's much shorter. It consists of essentially 11 articles or modules that walks people through the nature of climate change and its connection to energy. It's designed to be a supplement for classes that deal with energy and climate and environmental science. So each one of these modules is more or less self-contained. You can see the glossary terms, videos, a lot of images related to climate change. And we get down to the bottom of the article, you have a summary of key concepts, links to resources on the web, sources, self-assessment, and so on. So again, a slightly different type of content. So this is just to give you a flavor for what types of products could be produced. Okay, so how does this actually happen if you're an author? So what I've done is create a blank site. So if you were to create a book, you would come to a site like this, which looks pretty imposing, but it's actually pretty simple to get started. So again, you have the same sort of navigation along the top, chapters listed along the left, search bar, editing wheel, and so on. So the first thing we might want to do is give our book a title. So I'm going to click the editing wheel and click edit settings. So here, one thing to note about our platform is that there's a lot of functionality that enables people who are interested to really get down into the weeds and customize their book, but it's entirely optional. We have a lot of default templates and functionality which enables you to skip almost everything other than a few bare essential items and produce a very high quality book. So here I'm going to type in a title for my book. I'm going to call it Energy, Society, and Environment. And I'm picking that because that's something that I know about and feel comfortable even pretending that I'm creating a book about. A book image. So what I've done is create, let me show you this over here, a little folder where I've assembled different types of content for my book. Images, PowerPoints, Word files that contain parts of chapters or chapters, which I'm sure many of you have sitting on your hard drive. So what I'm going to do is to create my book overview is open up this, to look at this Word document called, where is it, Book Overview. So here's just a little bit of text providing a brief overview of the book itself. So I'm just going to copy that, close this, and go into this book description. And here you see a little web editing interface open to you. I'll describe some of the functionality before this. It's very similar to Microsoft Word. And I'm just going to dump this text in here with a paste and click Submit. And there's my overview, but my image didn't show up, and that's because, go back into my edit settings, I didn't click the, let's see here, choose, I didn't choose my image, that's why. Choose my image, and I'm going to pick, let's see, I'll pick a wind turbine. Wind turbine, click submit again. And there you go. So now I have a nice little landing page for my book, gives an overview of the book. I have an image for the book. Notice that over here in the left nav, the image shows up with the title of the book. Okay, so now let's start writing, creating content. So let's start by adding a chapter. And so I'm going to click on this Create a Chapter icon over here in the left menu. Get a little pop-up box. So let's say I'm going to call this Energy Fundamentals for my Chapter 1. And let's see, I'll choose an image to associate with. I don't have to choose an image, but I like to do these kinds of things. So I've got an image, a power plant image, and it also asks me here with the directory tree location where I want to place this in the taxonomy of the book. And here I only have one choice because it's my first chapter, so I'm attaching it to the root directory. Chapter description, again, I have, let's see, Energy Fundamentals Overview. Again, a little Microsoft Word document that contains an overview to my chapter. Just going to copy that. Go back here, just paste it into this box, and click Submit. And there, I see my overview for my chapter. Again, my image didn't show up because I keep forgetting to click Show Image on topic homepage. What happens when you try to create content and talk at the same time? Click Submit. Okay, so here's my chapter on energy fundamentals. Notice it now shows up in the left-hand navigation. There's Chapter 1. And if I go back to the book homepage, notice that it now shows up in my linear sequence of my table of contents for the book as a whole. All right, now let's add some content to my chapter. So I'm going to open my chapter, and one of the nice things, the flexible parts of this platform is that you can create a video or an article or any other type of content on any page that you're in and place it anywhere that you want. So you don't have to be in a particular place. You don't have to create everything in exactly the order in which it will eventually appear in your book. The system keeps track of it, and you just eventually have to go through and order it. So I'm going to create a first section of my chapter on energy fundamentals. If I had the entire chapter written, I could just dump all of that in if I had it. But I'll go up here to the very top here and under the Add Content and click Add Article. So an article is like a section chapter in our terminology. So I'm going to call this Sustainable Energy. And I have over here written some stuff offline called Sustainable Energy Article. You can see here in the Word document there's some formatting. It's got some bold terms. It's got some terms in italics. It's got some terms, some text underlined. It's got some superscripts, subscripts, excuse me, and so on. So I'm just going to copy this. Close this. Now I'm going to go into my web editor. And so one of the options for uploading content is to go up here and click this little Word icon, which is paste from Word, and it's going to open a little box, and I can just paste my Word content into that. Click OK, and it pastes it in, and notice that the formatting has been retained. The bold is there, the italics are there, the underline is there, subscripts are there as well. So the formatting is almost, most of it is retained except for very complex formulas. Might want to just close up some of the spaces here. Where do I want to put this? So I click on the tab above the web editor, classification, and because I was already in the chapter on energy fundamentals, it assumes that that's where I want to put it, but I could put it someplace else if I wanted to. So then I'll click Create, since this is a new article, and it asks me, now I have a choice. Clicking Publish makes it viewable to anyone who has purchased the book. If I choose not to publish it, I can continue just to view it on my own until I'm ready to publish. So I'll just click Publish to make it viewable. Doesn't matter for the context of this. So this is then how the Publish view looks. So one of the important points, as I've already stated, is what you create in the web editor looks very close to what the user reader will see. Right? It looks very, very similar. So now, if I go back to my Energy Fundamentals homepage, I can now see that this chapter has a section entitled Sustainable Energy. Go back to the homepage, open my Energy Fundamentals chapter. There's the section that I just created. So the book is built for you as you add content. Okay, now let's start adding some of the good stuff. So I'm going to go to my article on sustainable energy and start to add some additional content to it. So I'm going to go on the editing wheel, click Edit Content. So my web editor allows me to do a lot of different things: basic styling, bold, italics, underline, and so on, centering, bullets, and so on. I can also add glossary terms, images, videos, and so on. So I'm going to demonstrate some of that for you now. So let's say after my first paragraph, I want to add a graph on world oil production. So I put the cursor where I want it, and I go up here to the web editor and click on the icon for templates. And here we have a number of prefabbed templates, which allows me to place images and videos in particular layouts on the page. So for this particular one, I'm going to pick a full width, because I know this is a big graph, and I get a little box where the image will appear, and I click on that image, and now I click on Upload, and I can find the image that I want to use. And so I've created in Microsoft Excel, as I do for a lot of my books, a graph of world oil production, which I'm going to upload. So I've now chosen that file. I send it to the server, which uploads it. I then have to size it, and some of these are we have templates which pre-size things for you. You can also pick your own sizes. Click OK, and now there's my my graph of world oil production. And it puts a area for your caption in there, so I can put in Figure 1, world oil production. And there's also different ways in which you can customize it. Again, you can leave it just like this. If I right-click on this, I can edit properties if I want to. My personal preferences, I don't like borders around my images. Some people do. So I can click that, and it will remove the border. So if now let's click Save and have a look at this. And now here's how it will look to the user. I've added my image with my caption, and you can see that it's looks pretty close to the way it did in my editor. Okay, let's keep going. If I want to add, keep moving here. So here's a quote. So I can add a little bit of styling to this by highlighting the quote. Go up here in the editing bar, web editor bar, and click quote, and it adds a nice little styling to that particular quote. And then further down, let's say I have some video that I want to add. And in particular, we're talking about energy and sustainability, and there's been a lot of publicity in the media about air pollution in China related to their coal combustion, and I have located a good video for that. There's a variety of ways in which you can load video. One is to just find it on the web already produced, and I've done that ahead of time by finding a video on YouTube, which is an ABC News piece on air pollution in Beijing. And this is a pretty good video with some really dynamic pictures. So if I want to include this in my book, in the case of a YouTube video, all I have to do is go up here at the top in the URL box and copy the video ID, go back to my book. So let's say I wanted to associate it with this particular paragraph, the United Nations Initiative chapter. I'm going to go up here to my templates, and now I'm going to align this, because I already know ahead of time what the size of these videos are for YouTube. Align right. And so I go up here to the top and click the YouTube icon in the web editor. And all I have to do is paste in that video ID that I captured and click OK. And again, I could put a caption in here if I wanted to. Get the spelling right. That's where I try to type and talk at the same time. And again, I'm going to save this. Take a look at it. I figure, and there's my video. So now the students reading along, I can reference this, and they can watch the video right as they read. I can also make it full screen if that's what people, whoa, that's pretty big picture of Diane there. But anyways, students have the flexibility there. All right, let's keep going. What other things that people might want to do? I'm kind of throwing everything, not everything, but a lot of things that people might want to do into this. Let's say I have equations. So I put the cursor where I want the equation to be. I go up here to my web editor all the way to the right, click the insert equation icon, and here we have a very powerful equation editor, which enables you, gives you every possible Greek letter and mathematical operator, as far as I can tell, that ever existed, and type in an equation. So it shows me the equation in LaTeX, which is the underlined equation, but below it, it also shows me how it's actually going to look. So it's pretty simple. So if I do E equals MC squared, I'm going to click the exponent, put the 2 in there, click OK. I can pick the font that I want, Computer Modern, click OK, and there it is. Put it in the middle. I got my equation. Let's say I want to use headings, which many people want to do. So I can easily add headings and distinguish them from the body text. So if I go in here and type life cycle analysis and just go ahead and select that text, go up to the web editor, click heading 1. Now I have a heading introduced. And let's say finally I have some other pedagogical elements that I want to use in my book, such as case studies that I would like to distinguish from the body text. So I place my cursor where I'd like to place that case study and go up to my template again. And here we have some colored text blocks that we can insert to help distinguish these. And in this particular case, I've read a little case study on nuclear power in France, which is an interesting study on why the French rely so heavily on nuclear power. I just copied that, and I'm just going to dump it into this box. You can see that it formats it nicely. I can put in a title. Nuclear power in France. I think this really needs an image, though. What do you think? So how would I do that? I don't have one offhand, but I'm going to go look for one on the web. So I'm just going to Google nuclear power in France. I'm going to click images, scroll around. You can tell I've sort of set this up already. There's a nice one. This happens to be in Wikipedia, and it's a power plant in France. So I'm going to visit this page. There's my article, my image in the upper right. Let's look at that. Check the copyright. So it's a Creative Commons license, so I can use it as long as I attribute it correctly. So I'm going to pick a small resolution of this. I'm just going to drag this over to my desktop folder where I'm keeping my book stuff, and there it is. So now I'm going to go back to my case study. I'm going to put the cursor at the very beginning of the text, go up to my template, click Align Right, double click the icon. I'm going to click Upload, choose a file. There's my image that I just uploaded. Click Open, upload it, click OK. Voila. Again, I can put a caption in. And here I would have to put in an attribution. Well, why don't I actually do that and show you? So nuclear power in France. So here we want to do credit Wikimedia Commons. So what I can do here is go back to this site, and this fulfills the attribution requirement. Copy this URL, go back here. Now I'm going to highlight Wikimedia Commons, go up to my web editor and click the link icon. Click that, and I'm just going to paste that link right in there. And now I've created, as you can see, a hyperlink, so people clicking on that can go to the original, and I've fulfilled the copyright requirement of Wikipedia. Okay, one last thing that I'd like to show you is the ability to add self-assessment questions, which I demonstrated earlier. So all the way up here at the top of the editing box, you'll see something called self-assessment. I can click on that, and now it asks me what type of question I want to add, multiple choice or free response. I'm going to click free response. And so I could ask students, what is life cycle analysis? And I have already teed up the response for that from the Word document, so I'll copy that. Suggested response box, paste that in, click Save Question, save the self-assessment. So now we'll go to the article, scroll down, there's my case study with my link, and at the very bottom, a self-assessment question. So here's question 1, what is life cycle analysis? Student types in a response, and they get the feedback. So those are some examples of some of the ways in which you can edit, customize, and produce the type of textbook you want, including rich media such as videos. Before we leave this, I just want to make one other observation for those of you who know HTML. If I go up to the upper left of the web editor and click Source, the HTML code is revealed. So if you want to go in and actually edit the code to produce your own kind of customization, knock yourself out. You can certainly do that. Okay. One other important feature that I want to demonstrate is this notion of live cross-publishing, which is this trademark functionality that Trinity has provided, which enables you to dynamically pull in content from other sites that you have access to and put it into your book. So let's say I'm working on this particular book, and I want to pull in some content from that energy and climate primer that I showed you earlier. So let's go to that. So let's say I want my students in my book to begin with to have a good understanding of what climate change is. In this particular module, I like what it does in terms of providing that overview. So I go up here to the upper left and I click on the live cross-publishing icon. Now what this enables me to do is to take this particular article and push it or move it, I shouldn't say move it, to dynamically clone it to any site for which I have access. So I click, choose my destination. There's my book that I'm working on. If I click on that, it'll show me all the other sites or books that I have access to. I'll click on that. Now this is ridiculous because I, as an administrator, I have access to every site on the thing, so it looks like a bowl of spaghetti, but for most people it'd be very simple. So I pick the book that I want, and then it asks me where in the book I want to place this. So I'm going to pick Energy Fundamentals. I'm going to put it in my first chapter and click Submit. So now it tells me at the top there that I've successfully published this content to my book. So let's go back to my book and see if in fact that is true. I'm going to click Refresh. I'm going to open my Energy Fundamentals chapter, and there it is, Module 1, the nature of climate change. So now I have moved that, dynamically moved that, copied that content into this chapter. If back at the original site, this content is changed or updated, it will be dynamically updated to my site, to any site that it has been live cross-published to. That's quite a powerful way to stay connected to content in real time. Another nice thing about this platform, it enables you to change the sequence of content. So if I go to my Energy Fundamentals chapter, there's my article that I wrote, the one that I live cross-published in. But let's say I want the climate change article for students to read that first, so I can go up here on my editing wheel and say content sequence. I'm going to click that, and now I can drag and drop content to change the order. So I'm just going to move Module 1 up above Sustainable Energy, click Save Order, and there you go. Now they will read the nature of climate change first, and then Sustainable Energy. And so any of the content that's on the platform, not only your own, obviously if you have your own content at multiple sites, you can move it across seamlessly from course to book, from one book to another, and so on, but also other sources on the platform as well. So now you've seen how you can build a single chapter, add content to that chapter, and add rich media and other types of elements to it. So let's just say now I'm going to build out my book. I'm going to add a bunch of other chapters. I want a chapter on fossil fuels, say. When you create a new chapter, it's going to ask you where you want to put it. So this is a new chapter, so I want it attached to the root homepage. Click Submit. My fossil fuel chapter shows up in the left nav. I'm going to create another chapter, say nuclear power. Again, I want this attached to the root directory. Let's do one more on energy policy. Attach it to the main page, submit. So now you can see on the left-hand side, I'm starting to build out my book with these different chapters. And again, you can see them spilling down the home page. If I wanted to change a sequence of chapters, go to content sequence, and again, let's say I wanted to do nuclear power ahead of fossil fuels, I just drag and drop, and the content has been reordered. So another important feature of the platform is the ability to connect content from one chapter to a next through internal links. So let's say I'm in my fossil fuels chapter and I want to create, I'm going to create an article. So I'm going to do add article, and I'm going to say an overview of fossil fuels, and I've created that article in Microsoft Word. So, by the way, any of this content that I'm copying and pasting, you could easily, just as easily, just type it in. You can create content from scratch in the web editor, whatever suits you. So click Word, click Paste. So now I have classification. I want to put it in the fossil fuels chapter. That's correct. So now I've created that. So now I have in my fossil fuels chapter this article. So let's say that back in some other chapter, go back to Energy Fundamentals, the first chapter that I was working on in sustainable energy, there's a reference here in the second sentence to fossil fuels. And so what I can do is I'm going to click Edit and go in here and create a link to the article that I just wrote on fossil fuels in case students in this context need more information, would like to see where that's developed in more detail in the book. So I highlight fossil fuels. I'm going to click on the Create Link icon. And here I can choose what type of link I want. So one of the choices is to link to another page in this book. So I choose that, and it reveals the table of contents to me. And I can open the fossil fuels chapter and pick the article that I want to link it to and click OK. Click Save. And now I've created a dynamic link to that. By clicking on fossil fuels, now it's going to take me to that article. So again, this provides a very powerful way to interconnect content within a particular book or within a chapter, which really makes it a much more powerful learning experience. So another feature of the platform, which I've alluded to, is the ability to provide real-time updates. And so I'm here in my fossil fuel article. So let's say I open that, and there's something new that's happened in the world of fossil fuels, and I go in and I add a video or I update content, and you could fix a typo or completely overhaul the chapter, add a few sentences, could be big or small, and I click Save. So now the power of this, there's my change. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new browser, and I'm going to log in as a student. So let's say I'm some student at Montana State who's using your book in their class, and so now I'm logged in as Carl, and I'm a student. Notice that I don't see the editing wheel over here below the search menu, and I also don't have all the functionality in the top bar because I'm not an instructor. But other than that, the experience is exactly what you see as an instructor. And so I'm going to go to fossil fuels, open the overview of fossil fuels, and you'll notice that that change has been pushed to my book. And so this is a very powerful way to keep content up to date. So anyone using this book who would purchase this book would automatically receive this update. And as I mentioned, this has been very important for us in the environmental science field. For example, let me go back to our environmental science book. This past fall, go to the climate change chapter, the Intergovernmental on Climate Change released their 5th assessment report, updating a lot of the science underlying climate change. So over winter break, we ditched the old chapter and completely rewrote the chapter on climate change to include all the information that came out in AR5 by the IPCC. So all the data now reflect what's happening, reflects the most up-to-date science. And so students using the textbook this semester, when they came back to school, now have a completely updated climate change chapter. That's quite powerful from both an instructor and student perspective. You know, if we were still with McGraw-Hill, we'd have to wait for our 3-year review cycle to publish, republish that work. Here we can rapidly push out changes. So one last thing I wanted to show you, and that has to do with Instructor Resources. So here at our environmental science book, you notice at the bottom we have a chapter here labeled Instructor Resources, and you notice that it's in red. So if I edit this, notice that there, with all the content that you produce, there's a box here which enables you to select Instructor View Only. And that enables you to hide this content from anyone except you and your co-authors. So here we've developed Instructor Resources. We give them access to this site. Anyone who adopts the book gets access to the PowerPoint, the assignments, labs, test bank, and so on. And it also enables us, this ability to hide content enables us to work on updates. So these are all chapters. These are current revisions that we're working on this summer. One is a revision to fossil fuels, forestry, our AP Science material. So we can all work on this dynamically, and we finish this fossil fuel revision, we'll just swap it out for the current chapter, and presto, in the fall, people will have that revised book. So that's a quick, very quick tour through the platform. I want to jump back now here to the PowerPoint and just say a couple things in summary before I turn to people's questions. So if you're interested in any of this, you can go to trinity.com/authoring. We'll have a recording of this webinar up. There are also other videos which describe how to work on the platform. You can also get more information. There's a little form there to fill out. In fact, why don't I actually just, whoops, cancel that. Why don't I actually show you that? If I go to Trinity, then trinity.com, I'm up here in the top menu, click on authoring, and there's lots of content in here related to what I've just said. You can click on over here in the left menu, become an author, and fill out that form, and we'll be happy to get in touch with you. And equally as important, feel free to contact me directly. There's my contact information. I'd be happy to get on the phone with you, or another webinar, Skype, whatever you want to do, to talk about what we think is a really exciting product that is going to be changing the way in which people conceive of and deliver content on the web. So with that, with our remaining time, there's some questions that have popped up here, and I'm going to go through these and try to get to all of them. So the question here, one question is, does the cost model allow material to be made available free of charge to our own students or institution? I work for the government, and our students are all public servants. Oh, geez, what do we have to start out with the hard questions? And the short answer is probably yes, but there would have to be some. You would have to do all the work, you know. So part of what we do with our 50% is support the authors in the editorial process, the book production process, the assisted self-publishing, and in the marketing. So that all costs money. So, you know, if you wanted to partake of those services, then we would have to at least have some nominal charge associated with it. But you know, we're pretty flexible. So I would encourage you, David, to, you know, contact me by email or give me a call, and we can talk about what you have in mind. Someone asked about copyright. So the way the agreement works, as I mentioned at the very outset, is that you authors, content creators, retain the intellectual copyrights to their work. We make no claim on copyright. What we do make a claim on is the electronic publication of that content. So the agreement allows us to exclusively publish the content in digital form, but in terms of print or physical or other modes of content, you're free to do what you want, and the actual copyright material stays with the author. Can the system embed Excel spreadsheets that the reader can navigate? Can the reader manipulate the spreadsheet? The short answer is no. We do have a new release that we're currently working on over the summer that will be out in the fall, and that type of functionality is something that is on our feature list to add. But currently, we do not have that capability. You can upload spreadsheets easily, like you can upload any other type of file, but you can't actually, within the platform itself, manipulate them. Can we publish a book or in a chapter at a time, testing each chapter on a class as we go along? I'm assuming that the prototype or draft version would be free, and when it goes live, it would be for sale beyond the institution. Well, certainly you can publish at your own pace. and that's one of the great things about the platform is you can kind of add content as you go. It's easy to collaborate if you're working with other people to collaborate, and you could certainly use the draft version in a class, and then when it was ready for commercial release, we could then put a price on it then. So the short answer is yes. That's what I did with my book. Question on copyright on video. There's a problem. Creative Commons attribution does not necessarily work if money is charged for the result, depending on the Creative Commons conditions. All very true. That's why we have lawyers. And so in the case of YouTube, we've looked at this very closely, and the way in which I showed you the YouTube was used, that is within the realm of the YouTube video copyright. And the Creative Commons, depending on what type of Creative Commons license is, there are many different types. There are some restrictions if it's a commercial product. In the one that I showed you on Wikimedia Commons, as long as you provide full attribution back to the source, you fulfill that obligation. And again, this is something we've had our lawyers work with. But as an author and as a publisher together, we have to look at that very carefully. If you're grabbing stuff from different places, that we pay very close attention to those copyrights. When a student types in an answer on a self-assessment question, where does that text go? Is it ephemeral or accumulated? In the self-assessment questions, those are not accumulated. Those are just for the student. What I didn't show you with this book was that there is a lightweight LMS associated with this. So you can actually create online question pools. You can upload question pools and create questions, exams, quizzes, assignments, whose grades are recorded and dumped into a grade book, which you can then manipulate and manage and then export to whatever learning management system you might use at your school. So the self-assessment questions are not, but other types of assessment which we have are fully capturable. And David, if you want to see a little demo of that, I'd be happy to do that in another on a one-to-one. Looks great and seems easy to create. Thank you. How much does it cost? Well, the use of the platform is free. So, but to the commercial product, the agreement that we reach enables you give us the right, working with you, to market your textbook for a particular price, and we work with you to determine what the price is. We look at the market and all the other, things that publishers consider, and set the price which we think is reasonable. And so that's, as I said, our book is $50. That primer I showed you, I think, sells for $25. It's much smaller, but this is done on a case-per-case basis. In dynamic publishing, do you have to go back to the original, or can you edit in any of the dynamic links? So in the live cross-publishing, so when you take a chapter or an article from another book, even if it's one that you created, and put it into your book, you cannot edit that, because that article or that chapter belongs to someone else, in essence. You can use it in that form, but you can't actually edit that particular article. Any of the content that you produce, you can edit. But for stuff that's live cross-published, only the edits to the original content can be done, so you can't edit any of those dynamic links that are in those. How many people can work on a book at the same time? Infinite. Well, maybe not infinite, but as many as you want. It's a very highly scalable program. I also didn't show you that there's an editorial workflow tool available. So if you're working with large numbers of authors and you have some kind of review process, you can put articles through a review process so that you can work collaboratively in that way. But there's no limit to the number of people who can work. You can also give different types of access to different chapters, read versus edit versus administrative. So the administrative privileges are very granular, and you can manage those individually. And the question is, can you use this as a platform to actually write the book? And the answer is, Lisa, absolutely. You know, you can, any one of those web editing boxes that I showed you, I'll just go back to one right here. And if I click on any particular, if I create a new article, there's my web editing box, and I can just start, you know, just start typing and add content and just type from scratch. And I typically do a combination of both. Sometimes I have stuff I've already written, which I dump in, and a lot of my stuff is done from scratch. Okay. What are the rules about putting YouTube content into the books? I think I answered that. So for the most part, you have to look at each individual YouTube video in particular. But if they have the standard YouTube license, what I showed you was within the YouTube, was legal in some fundamental way. We've had lawyers who have looked at that in quite a bit of detail. But some videos on YouTube do have restrictions, so you'd have to pay attention to those, and we can help you do that. Can you restrict student access to continuing on to subsequent chapters, e.g. making a contingent on passing some quiz questions? The short answer is no. That is again on our roadmap, but it's not. It's a functionality that we currently do not have. How do you set your initial book price? I think I also answered that. So it's a conversation that we have with authors, and ultimately we set the price based on our expectations of what the market will bear. Obviously, we all want to sell. We want to maximize sales, so we're all rowing in the same direction. How can an exam be set up and carried out by students? I didn't demonstrate that. Sergey, I believe, if I'm pronouncing that right. If you want to contact me, I can show you how you do that. It's very straightforward. It's done in the same editing box type of editing format that I showed you, and I'd be happy to demonstrate that. Who determines the cost of the book? Carla, I think I answered that. If I have the copyright of a printed book, does that mean I can publish it through you and you'd own that electronic version but not the intellectual property? So, Carla, if I understand you right, so if you have a print book and if you own the copyright to it and you were to transfer it to our platform, we would own the rights to distribute it electronically, but you would retain the copyright. The copyright to the intellectual property stays 100% with you. We make no claim on the actual intellectual property. How is Trinity different from iTunes U and iBooks Author? Well, the most important difference is that we are platform and operating system agnostic. This will work on a PC, a Mac, an Android system, a Chromebook, an iPad, a Samsung device, anything, literally anything. Of course, with iBooks, you have to have an iPad. So we're not constrained. Now, this content you can download. We have an app, as I mentioned, that we're building right now for the iOS and Android platforms, which will be available this summer, which will enable you to go to any particular chapter. So you'll be able to go into this book and go into your bookshelf. And here's, again, this is, I'm logged in, so I have a zillion different things in my bookshelf, but you will be able to go to one of these books. I don't know how I'm even going to find the one that I have. Let's see if I can actually find it. There it is. There's this particular book. And I will be able to open this, pick a chapter, and download that chapter to my iPad or my Android device and take it offline. And I won't even need access to the web. And all that interactive content, all the videos, self-assessments, everything, you'll be able to have offline. So that's the fundamental difference. Yeah, David, you asked about an LMS. As I mentioned, we do have a lightweight LMS. I'd be happy to give you a demo of that. Can we use some of the content in our digital courses at a university, i.e. a closed course, a MOOC on Coursera? So if you have, if you've produced content in an electronic form on our platform and have an agreement as an author, then it's a good question, Lisa. My initial reaction, and don't hold me to this, is that you probably would not be able to publish it again on, for example, Coursera. But I'm going to have to get back to you on that because I'm not exactly, that's a very good question, and I'm not exactly sure, particularly if the MOOC, yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to have to get back to you, which I will certainly do, Lisa. How does this platform compare with iBook Author? As I think I mentioned, the big difference, a lot of the functionality, the ability to embed, rich media and so on. I mean, iBook Author is a nice platform. Obviously it's an Apple product, but it's, extremely limiting because of the fact that you need an iBook. And another issue for us was we're engaged in an ongoing agreement with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, one of the big K-12 publishers, and we're doing work around the world, and so offline access is critical in many parts of the developing world because people don't have such ubiquitous access to the web. So that's why one of the reasons why we develop these apps. And of course, one of the problems with iPads is they don't support Flash. So any animation or content that you have in Flash form won't work on an iPad. So there are some pretty important differences that distinguish our product from iBook Author. Well, that's it. Let me just check and make sure I answered all the questions. I believe that. Oh, how do these books work on mobile devices? So the functionality on iOS and Android devices and Chromebooks is identical to what you've seen online. All the functionality is there. And again, offline, we now have this ability to cache a few chapters and pull them offline as well. We can't do whole books because some of these books that have lots of rich media are just very large size-wise. But students can pull down a few chapters and take them offline and go wherever they want and have them available. Another question, how can you help me market my book if I put it on the Trinity platform? So as I mentioned, we have a marketing unit which is very skilled at both web-based marketing campaigns and the old-fashioned push campaigns where we develop contact lists and send people email and follow up with calls and pound the pavement and actually get your product in front of people. I should also say that unlike many publishers, we also want to directly involve authors to the extent that they want to be involved, to be involved in webinars like this, to create a brand for you as an author that's associated with your book, and to get your input on where the actual markets, where the pockets are that we should really target your book. So authors play a very important role in our marketing campaign. So another question, so it doesn't cost us anything to try your platform? Nope, it's free, Lisa. We can get you signed up and put you in a sandbox, as we call it, and you can create a way. And anything that you publish in a trial way, if you want to, eventually convert to a commercial product, it's essentially a seamless behind-the-scenes transformation. And what if we don't commit to finally publishing you? Well, in the very small, remote chance that that doesn't happen, Lisa, you can take your stuff, you can pick up your marbles and go to someone else. But we're going to try very, very hard to make you want to stay with us. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. And again, don't hesitate to contact me. We'll follow up with an email to give you those contact lists for me and the web URLs where you can go to get more information. And I look forward to talking to all of you. Thank you. Have a nice day.